don't think Me Too necessarily like is what prevented people from believing you and your story. And like your story is valid, like I'm not here to suppress that, but I do think that like it's worth noting women are far more likely to be victims of sexual assault.
They wonder then why people latch on to guys like Andrew Tate. You wonder why. It's because of people like this. It really is. Because they come in and they minimize and they degrade everything. All right, guys, what's up? Let's get into part 2 of this Vice debate on masculinity. If you want to see part 1, it is on my channel. It's the most recent video that I uploaded, so you can check that out there. Like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and let's get rolling right into it. There's the card for the first part if you haven't seen it, and then come back to the second part.
I very much love gender roles. I like masculine men, and I want my masculine man to pick the check up. This woman doesn't want him to pay, and she wants to show she can pay. Go off.
You know, if someone picked it up for you, like, you develop a kind of rapport, respect with that person, like, so be it. If the other person, you know, the woman you're with doesn't want that, then maybe it's not the match for that person. So I think it's dependent on the situation.
I do like that analysis early on about just something simple like picking up the check. Some women like to genuinely do that, some don't. Some like to play the game where they're like holding it, like, oh, I just can't seem to find the money in here. I put it in the same spot every time. Just killing it until you just take the check and do it yourself. Personally, I'm always someone who just picks it up every time. That's why I always make sure that we go to places where I know kind of how much I'm going to spend, and I specifically go to those places. There's a few times where, you know, you overindulge if you've been talking for a long time, but I think that this is more just based upon the first date type of a deal. And that guy's right. If she's someone who wants to do it 50-50, who genuinely wants to do it 50-50, is uncomfortable with somebody paying for them, and the guy's uncomfortable with the girl paying at all, then maybe that's an early sign that this is not a particular match. But I think there's a lot of ego that goes into it with people, especially of this new generation. The ego that goes into it of trying to change people or trying to fit the square peg into the round hole analogy. There's a lot of that going on. So I think that the more that people, and I think it also do with how superficial people are. I don't think people are necessarily looking to be matches in that sense as much as they should. I think it's a lot of, this person looks good, I want to be with this person just because they look good. There's nothing else going on there. There's nothing that they really relate on. There's nothing that they're on the same page about. There's no shared experiences or anything like that. And that's why there is a lot of issues. A lot of issues in the dating sphere now, is that it's so very superficial, so shallow. And obviously there's always going to be a component of that because you have to be attracted to the person physically that you're going to be with, especially at a younger age. You know, you want to have that also. But it's no secret that these relationships aren't lasting because people are not dating and getting into relationships with people for the right reasons. It's all very shallow reasons. There's no deepness to these relationships anymore. And I know that that's something as simple as picking up the check doesn't seem very deep, but it is something that can project. It can be a small projection to what is to come in the future. And I think that people don't pay close enough attention to even those small enough things, and that's why relationships fail a lot.
I think that there's such a thing as financial abuse, and men seem a lot of time, because they spend, that a woman has to be under them or owes them something.
Yeah, well, we live in a city where there's 8 million people, and, you know, a lot of these girls, especially if you're really attractive, guys are hitting on them all day. So they feel like celebrities. You got so many options. I don't blame you. I'd be the same way. Becomes like
with somebody better.
That's true as well. Is that, I said this in the other video, is that women are constantly treated like they're some super duper special thing, and some of them aren't. Some of them are just regular people, you know, at the end of the day. But that it changes the power dynamic significantly. The way technology is getting used now to court people is that guys are food at the buffet. I said in the last video, they're just food at a buffet. And then the women are the ones that get to go up and pick everything, and the guy should just be happy that he got picked out of the multitude of options that are given to them. But that also creates an environment of, how do you say it? resentment, because then guys will compromise on looks, for example, and then they'll have a girl who's a 5 who's expected to be treated like the girl who's a 10. And I know that might come across as a little bit harsh, but guys don't hold those same expectations. Guys sort of are better at understanding where they are because the experience in the courtship aspect is so different. You know, a guy who doesn't maybe has, just an average guy, an average income, understands his place in the pecking order, right? He understands that if a guy comes along who has a better career or is more established, who has more money, and as long as they're relatively the same looking, chances are that other guy's going to get chosen. But those guys accept that, so they sort of can adjust their expectations and adjust what they're pursuing in general in the dating world according to that. Meanwhile, you get mixed up in a situation where you get these girls who ain't all that, but have the attitude and the egos of ones who are all that. And that's because at a certain point, like how many DMs do you need to get of people trying to hook up with you or trying to take you out before you lose count? Before it just becomes a constant sea of, it's like sand on the beach. Like, you can count a couple of grains of sand if there's only a couple of grains of sand there. But then we look at the whole beach, there could be 1 million or there could be 1 billion grains of sand there. I don't know. Or like when you go look at a sold out stadium for a sporting event, it could be 50,000 people or it could be 100,000 people. At the end of the day, it all kind of looks the same. It's just a sea of people. At what point, where's the tipping point in being like, I don't get that many, to, oh my God, I'm completely overwhelmed. How much more could I possibly get? There's just so many. Like, where's the tipping point for that? And I think that a lot of women don't know where that tipping point is because they only know their own experience. So that's where you get 5s and 6s, with their nose up to the average guy who was hitting on them because, they don't have the money. They don't make 6 figures or whatever crazy expectations have been placed out there that you see all the time on social media, the people interviewing the random females on the street, and they're just like, how much do you think a guy should make? And they go, I don't know, $250,000 a year. And you're looking at the girl like how do you of all people have this expectations? Like, you're not all that attractive. In like, what are you bringing to the table other than your, and none of them have answers anymore. So that does create an issue. But another thing that gets said here is when guys that pay, going back to the guys that pay, is that there are guys that do that with the expectations that they're going to get something in return, aka. And I'm sure that there are guys out there that are like that, but I think there are a lot fewer and far between than is led to believe, which is a lot of things, because everything is sort of exaggerated by a particular side of the argument almost always, and it's always made to make as many of the guys as possible look bad, when the reality is it's probably a very, very rare selection.
In the workplace, I was working at a place where a woman was grabbing me inappropriately, doing things that were inappropriate. And when you bring that up to your coworkers, you know what they say? They laugh and they say, you should be excited, right? So if a man is sexually abused, the stigma totally changes.
Well, I don't think Me Too necessarily is what prevented people from believing you in your story. And your story is valid. I'm not here to suppress that, but I do think that it's worth noting women are far more likely to be victims of sexual assault.
Do you see what we're talking about here? I'm so happy that was the response this person gave to that guy's story. Is that, oh, your story's valid, but and then brings up the fact that women are much more likely to be assaulted in general in the workplace or whatever, which the only way you would know that isn't true is that guys don't report it for the exact story that this guy just told. That story he didn't report that story to HR. He told his other coworkers, they laughed it off, and that was the end of it. That doesn't get put on the record. But I'm so glad that, of course, that would be the person that would come out and say, yeah, and like roll their eyes at this person's story and being like, I understand that your story, yeah, it is valid, whatever. But women are like far more like, it's like, you're a dude, first of all. So shut your mouth with this crap about trying to make everything like, you're literally degrading the male experience. All because what? You didn't like the fact that you're a guy, so now you're pretending to be otherwise? Is that what happened here? So you just hate that thought so badly that you're just going completely against it. Absolute classless. But I'm glad. I hope that somebody actually steps up and says something and doesn't just let this pass by the way that I wouldn't. But I mean, I doubt it. And even if they did, Vice probably edited it out because this is their goal. Their goal from the beginning was to feature this degradation of the male experience. And all because one is less likely when, let's be real, if it doesn't get reported, men are significantly more likely to not report something happening to them in that way. For the exact reason that Cowboy had exactly said, and for the exact reason of why non-binary freaking blondie face over there said as a response to him.
And I went for a walk to get dinner last night. And I walked several blocks because I wanted to check out a few things. And it was dark. Not a single time did the idea that I would be physically or sexually assaulted cross my mind. Not a single time. Now, I can imagine that doesn't really work out for women.
Well, I mean, what neighborhood do you live in? Do you live in a white affluent neighborhood that's like a suburb that's like relatively safe? Or do you live in like a downtown of a big city? Because that changes things a lot too. If you're downtown in a big city, if you're a guy, you're not walking around the street at night alone unless you're strapped. You know, or you're staying in very, very public areas. But it's still dangerous. If the thought doesn't cross your mind, that's probably because of where you live. And where you live, probably women have the exact same threat to having that happen to them as you do, if it's not even a thought in your mind. Because having it not even be a thought in your mind is a sign of being in a very privileged neighborhood, where crime is not even necessarily a thing you have to worry about at all across the board. But what do I know?
It comes down to biological differences. As a man, you're more likely to be able to have more of a chance to fend off someone attacking you. As a woman, not really. So that's why, we have things like mace and tasers or having a gun.
And to complain about it. People look at you like, remember Terry Crews? He didn't get his nuts squeezed and shit.
Right. It's like, why didn't you do something? Why'd you let him?
Look how the world ridiculed him. Oh, you ain't do nothing. Like, oh, you a bitch. So.
Yeah. Why don't you turn around there, bud, and say it to the one behind you, who seems to be the one talking about like men getting assaulted and no one caring is literally men's fault. Ugh, God.
If you talk about a little bit of pressure that goes with it, yeah, there's a little bit of pressure. If you can withstand it, you become a successful man.
But what does that have to do with being a man? Like, surely like a woman can do all those things, so why even attribute it to your gender?
That's a good point, but I think also, if you're talking in terms of biological differences, generally men are more logical, right? More reasoning, more factual.
I disagree.
Based.
There's no scientific backing for that whatsoever.
In general, men are more logical and women are more emotional. I don't understand this dumb pushback on that. It is an absolute fact. Women are more emotional than men in general. You will have men who are particularly over emotional. You'll have women who are particularly less emotional. But as a general rule, it's undeniable. It's undeniable. It makes me think that you've never actually met men and women, or you're simply lying about the differences. And it doesn't surprise me that it's non-binary person trying to pretend that, because their whole thing is that it's like, because they were born a guy, that doesn't mean that means the generalities don't apply to anything ever. So it's just, I'm getting so annoyed, especially with the last couple with this blonde idiot. But let's just power through.
That's part of the dating scene. Everyone has things that they like and things that they don't like.
I feel like your preference is your preference, but at like some point, I think it's like noteworthy and responsible to like understand where those preferences or like originate.
Not necessarily. I think our life experiences form what we really want in our dating life. And because I grew up in a broken home and I didn't have a man in the house, I want a man who gives me security and protection. I don't think me deconstructing masculine is going to do that for me. I was missing that in my childhood, and that's what I want in a man.
I tend to diverge from like the Freudian daddy issues stuff when it comes to like what
Congratulations. I'm so happy for you. I want a man who gives me security.
Thank you.
Awesome. Oh, ooh, the rainbow people are fighting. The rainbow people are fighting. I like it. I like that the rainbow people are fighting. The rainbow mafia turning on each other. See, they start eating each other. They just start eating each other. I love it. I love it. That guy right there, damn straight. He's had enough. He's had enough of Blondie, just like I have. Good. With your, like, daddy issues, it's like, dude, what kind of issues do you have? You want to throw that out there like, oh, the Freudian daddy issues, ha ha ha, and giggle at this person because they're talking about their experience, and just do what you've done. This entire video, this entire debate, this entire panel, which is hear a man's experience on a debate about masculinity and do everything you could to minimize it and to make it look ridiculous and to make it look stupid. All why? Let's talk about what your issues are. The fact that you were born with a penis and with testicles and you're born as a male, and that you've lived your life now doing everything you can to not be one. Let's talk about that. Why aren't we talking about that? You can minimize everyone else's experience. You can do what so many people on that side of the argument do and have done for years. And then they wonder why there's such a backlash. They wonder then why people latch on to guys like Andrew Tate. You wonder why. It's because of people like this. It really is. Because they come in and they minimize and they degrade everything. Every experience, every shortcoming. And do the exact thing that they're pretending to be against, which is telling men to just suck it up. Oh, you got problems? Suck it up. They say that that's a problem. They say that's toxic masculinity, yet they do the exact same thing just from a different angle. They just say it in different ways. They go like, you should be. And then when this guy goes, oh, I didn't have that in my life, and that's why I seek it out to this day. And it's like, well, I don't buy into Freudian daddy issues. Unbelievable. I'm so done with this guy. I'm so over this guy. And I'm done. I don't want to hear anything else that this person has to say, so I'm not going to put myself through it. You guys can put yourself through it by watching the entire Vice debate. Vice posted it, so you can frustrate yourself watching this. I'm not going to do it anymore, but thank you guys for sticking with me through this, for these two parts of this debate, breakdowns and stuff. It's been a long road, discussions here, and just leave all your stuff in the comment section below. Leave the thumbs up so we can get this exposed to more people. Subscribe so you don't miss any more of my content. Notification bell, if you wouldn't mind, just so I can see how much my stuff is actually being exposed to people, because there's really inconsistencies going on. I don't know how much of that is just YouTube doing it on purpose to mess with me. But thank you guys again for coming, and I'll see you guys with the next video next time around. Thank you.